You're with the deep dive, and today we're jumping into the return of a genuine K-pop icon, G-Dragon.
Yeah, after quite a break, he's suddenly everywhere. Lots of interviews popping up.
Exactly. From like a pretty academic talk at KAIST to something lighter like Quiz on the Block, plus magazine features, radio. It's a lot to cover.
It is. So think of this as your curated guide. We've sifted through all these recent chats, the tech stuff, the personal bits, to really pull out what's key about where he's at in 2024.
Right. We want to explore what he's thinking now about, creativity, the pressures of K-pop, which are always there, and his views on technology and entertainment, which is super interesting.
And we're drawing from that KAIST talk, TVN's Quiz, ELLE Korea, and that rare radio spot on NBC's Kim Yena's Starry Night.
So yeah, this is your shortcut to the important stuff, the surprising details, those moments that really show you where he is right now.
And what's interesting is just the variety, isn't it? A university lecture versus a late-night radio show. You see different sides of him.
Okay, let's unpack this. First, just the buzz around his comeback. It feels like a long time coming. And that radio appearance on Kim Yena's Starry Night. Wow, his first time back there in 12 years.
That was definitely a moment. And the host, Kim Yena, she really played it up, didn't she? Calling him the K-pop king, pop power.
Yeah, she shared some funny stories about past meetings. You could feel the anticipation.
And G-Dragon himself kind of acknowledged it, said it's been ages since he did radio because he hasn't been super active publicly.
Of course, it's all tied to the new single, Power, which, already hitting charts, getting YouTube views.
Which just shows his staying power, right? And he even had that playful description for himself, Kalrong GD.
What does that mean exactly? Stylish, but maybe a bit playful or relaxed?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe hinting at a slightly different vibe after the break.
And while he's back with this energy, he did mention feeling the passage of time, like physically dance practice getting harder.
Which is relatable, even for him. And you can't ignore the fans, the waiting, the light stick, the bong.
Oh, yeah, the iconic bong. He hinted about future plans for it, too, didn't he?
He did, very playfully. Fans
Yeah.
must be buzzing about that.
For sure. Okay, so let's shift to creativity and the music itself. He talked about writing Power, said the melody came relatively fast.
Yeah, the melody wasn't the struggle, apparently. It was fitting the lyrics to the unique flow of the track. That took time.
And his lyrics are always intricate, aren't they? The wordplay, using words that sound the same but mean different things, mixing Korean and English.
It's definitely a signature, real artistry there.
He also talked about singing, focusing more on like the emotion and the feeling rather than just perfect technique.
Right, he brought up Untitled 2014, that really emotional ballad. Said a recording, it was almost like doing it live, capturing that raw feeling.
It gives you a window into his whole process. He mentioned writing songs constantly since he was, middle school, like one a week with Taeyang back in the trainee days.
That kind of consistent work ethic from way back then.
Yeah.
It definitely built a foundation.
And he made an interesting point about solo work versus big bang songs. Solo stuff is more about his personal feelings, his experiences.
Whereas the group songs are maybe aimed at broader themes, more universally relatable stuff. Makes sense.
He even told a story about writing that XX really fast after something emotional happened. Shows how powerful that personal connection is for his writing.
Totally. And his creative process sounds, well, not very structured. Not like 9 to 5.
No, more like he's always kind of working, always noting ideas. So a song could take years or it could just happen quickly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He also contrasted how he used to record, like aiming for raw energy back then versus maybe a more polished approach now. It's interesting hearing artists reflect on how they've changed.
He even looked back at Crooked. Said the video, despite being high energy, actually reflected feelings of like isolation and rebellion he had even when successful.
Adds another layer, doesn't it? Which kind of leads us into the whole topic of K-pop pressure and, staying relevant for so long.
Yeah, he was open about that. Said the pressure to do well has basically always been there, right from the start.
On Quiz, he put it pretty bluntly, burden has been in the vase since debut. Just a constant factor.
He even felt this comeback needed to be now in the year of the dragon to keep that momentum going.
It's wild to think even someone like him feels that. He remembered feeling nervous for his solo debut with Heartbreaker, even after all the Big Bang success.
Shows that each step brings its own kind of pressure, I guess. And he talked about trends, how they come and go, and wanting to create something that lasts longer.
Yeah, aiming for longevity. And that ELLE Korea interview question, define G-Dragon in one word.
Oh, yeah. What was his answer?
Attention seeker.
Uh-huh.
Or gwanjang in Korean. Playful, but maybe a bit self-aware about his public image.
Huh, interesting. But despite all that pressure, he seems pretty okay with how things have gone, right? Like he'd probably choose the same path again.
Yeah, he suggested that, which says a lot. And he talked about liking challenges, sticking with something until he's satisfied with it.
That internal drive seems key. Okay, let's switch gears to something really different technology and entertainment. That KAIST talk sounds fascinating.
It really was. He'd visited KAIST before last year and was apparently really impressed by the students and the place itself.
And he sees tech as a way to maybe overcome physical limitations as he gets older, and also just expand what's possible on stage.
It's a practical and creative view, and we saw it already, didn't we? His concert back in March used drones, 3D, AI.
Right, it wasn't just tech for tech's sake. It was integrated into the performance.
He even floated the idea of performing at the Sphere someday. You could tell he's genuinely excited by what new tech can do for audience experiences.
And that idea about sending his music into space, that was quite poetic.
It was less about the tech feed and more about, like, a personal journey, hoping for connection even with the unknown. He tied it to his song Divina Commedia.
So why engage with Kaya? Sounds like he genuinely wants to learn from the tech experts.
Yeah, and maybe offer his own creative perspective back to them, like a two-way street. He sees himself as someone using this tech creatively, bridging the gap, maybe.
Between the tech people and the rest of us?
Kind of. And a big theme was imagination, how it's crucial for both art and technology. A KAIST professor apparently echoed that. It all starts with that creative spark.
Which is a great bridge to some of the specific English phrases we heard. Language tells you a lot, too.
Definitely. So on the radio show, you had your catchphrase.
Oh, okay, let's unpack this. Yes, I use that a lot. But G-Dragon himself used quite a bit of English naturally mixed in, didn't he? Like flow, guide, fashion terms.
Very naturally bilingual. Then from UQuiz, that quote you mentioned earlier, Burden has been in the bass since debut. So concise, so powerful.
And ELLE KOREA gave us some more personal ones, like when he talked about covering his face when shy. That's my favorite expression. I'm probably like this most of the time. It's quite endearing.
It is. And also from ELE, that resilient attitude. Every day is a challenge. I like facing them. Just straightforward determination.
And finally, from KAIST, summarizing his view on tech. Technology can help overcome the limitations of the human body. Gets right to the point.
Looking at all these interviews together, you really see how thoughtful he is, reflecting on his career, his process, the industry.
Yeah, and he's willing to be pretty open, isn't he? Sharing feelings about pressure, creative struggles, looking back at his younger self. It feels quite honest.
And for anyone interested in English, these interviews are gold mines. You're hearing authentic English used in real conversations mixed with Korean.
Exactly. It's not textbook English. It's how people actually talk. His vocabulary, the way he expresses nuanced ideas, it's really useful.
And honestly, it's just more engaging, right?
Yeah.
Learning through listening to someone interesting talk about their life and work is way more memorable than just studying grammar.
Totally agree. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what are the main things we've taken away from G-Dragon's recent appearances?
Well, first, I'd say his view of creativity as this ongoing, deeply personal thing. Second, the reality of that constant K-pop pressure, even for him.
Yeah.
And third, his really forward-looking embrace of technology in his art.
And for you listening, seeing G-Dragon's reflective, artistic side through these conversations is, I think, a fantastic way to experience real, thoughtful English in action. You get insights into an icon and pick up authentic language.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? Following his KAIST exploration, how else might technology keep blurring the lines between art and human capability in the future?
Ooh, that's a good question to ponder. Definitely worth checking out the full interviews if you want to dig deeper into his thoughts and his language. Thanks for diving deep with us today.